So my name is Stephen Rose. I am a senior product and marketing manager out of Redmond here in Washington. And I came out and spoke to your group last year. Actually, earlier this year, was out for the spring tour for Windows 10, brought out my friends from the office and from the mobility teams. We had a great time, and they told me that you guys were having a big user group meeting, and you could use somebody to come in and come talk about Windows. And I said, you know what, I can't unfortunately make it there in person, but I would love to jump on Skype and answer your questions that you guys might have on Windows 10, whatever it is you wanted to talk about, and would love to go ahead and hear that. So I think we're queued up for questions. I know we have a microphone so that I can hear you and hear the questions that you guys have. So I am here to answer any questions you guys have on Windows 10. So who would like to start?
How are you, Stephen? Quick
great.
question.
How are you?
Regarding Windows 10 Mobile.
Yeah.
Is Microsoft really and truly committed to the mobile? I mean, they just don't seem to be marketing it, and that statement they put out that they're going to support it until, 2018. That gave a lot of people the impression that, this year's the last year for looking for new products. They're not going to keep it.
Okay. I think that that's a great question. Let me start with apps first, and then we'll talk about hardware, and we'll talk about the phone. So apps first, by merging our platform, by having Windows Mobile, Windows, Xbox, Surface Hub, and HoloLens all work off the same platform, the fact that we already have over 117 million customers on Windows 10, by merging that was a key thing, and because that's really going to help developers, feel that there is a strong enough platform to develop for. We're already at half the amount of iPads on the planet. There are 225 million iPads on the planet. We're already at half that with Windows 10. So a developer who doesn't want to develop for Windows 10 is definitely going to lose out on money. As for that, we, for 3 years, we're guaranteeing for 3 years, but we see, like hardware, we're guaranteeing Windows will continue to work for this amount of time, but there are so many new things coming out, so many new things that we see happening with phone, that this version of Windows 10 that's out now, one of the things, that we've done is we're going to be pushing out updates. You no longer have to rely on AT&T or T-Mobile or those companies to do that. We're going to take that over, which means we're going to be able to evolve the platform faster. Now, saying the phone you buy today is still going to work 5 years from now is going to be difficult to say, because there's features and functionality and great new things that we want to bring to the phone platform that a 3-year-old phone may not be able to support. So it's not that in 3 years we're going to pull the plug on that phone. It's just 3 years from now, there's going to be updates and new functionality and things coming that hardware may not support. iPhone is, only supporting touch on their newest devices, that new kind of push pressure sensitive touch. They don't do it on old ones. They currently support their hardware only for 3 years, and then say at that point, you're kind of on your own. We're going to do new things. Android is very much at the same point. So for us, we're guaranteeing that for 3 years you will get all of the best, latest, and greatest with the new hardware, Continuum, etc. But it's very hard for us to tell where we're going to be at in 3 years. And we want people to be aware that 3 years from now, there's going to be some great new stuff out that the current hardware just may not be able to support. You're going to be able to continue to use that phone, but if there's a really cool new feature like Continuum, which we just brought out, which I think is awesome for those not familiar, with the new 950 and 950 XL, if you buy it between now and Christmas, you get our dock for free. That dock enables you to plug your phone into the dock and then use a full keyboard, a full mouse, and a full monitor with that, and use it like a PC with those Windows apps on it. That's an amazing evolution, and something we can't do with older devices, one of them being, the reason being USB-C. The USB-C port allows that transfer of the data and the video and everything through that. So it's not that we have said we're going to stop supporting that. It's just we want to make sure that we are being very actual, that we're being very honest in how long we think that hardware is going to be good for, and when that at that point, it's not that we're going to stop supporting phone. It's just you're probably going to need some hardware to be able to do the cool new stuff that we have coming down the line. Does that answer your question, and did you want to ask a follow-up?
Sorry.
Does that answer your question, or did you want to ask a follow-up on that?
Yeah, the article I was reading wasn't referencing the hardware side. It was talking about the software side. And I was wondering if that's because Windows Mobile is simply going to go away and it's just going to be called Windows.
Well, Windows Mobile has gone away. Yeah, we now just refer to it as Windows. And Windows Mobile actually refers to everything on a device that is below 8 inches. And it's now referred to as Windows Mobile. So you can buy tablets that actually has Windows Mobile on it. But the old Windows Mobile brand, that's something that we no longer have as part of Windows 10.
Okay, so that's what they're referring to. So it's really, even though the media and everybody else, including Microsoft, calls Windows Phone Windows Mobile, they're talking about a totally different animal.
That's
so
exactly
it's again
right.
where they're using the same word too many times, and it's confusing people.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, all these blog writers out there saying, "Why would you buy one?" when they said they're not going to make the OS or support it for more than 3 years. And I mean,
but those are people who really didn't dig in to understand that we're just calling it all Windows, and it's one version of Windows that runs across. So if you read some of the more trusted, I mean, if you read Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, any of those, they got it. These are some of the individual bloggers that are doing that, and they're people that really haven't taken the time, I think, to dig in. I agree. I think we need to do a better job on reaching out. But anybody who's been to our press sites, we've been through this, and it's something that we've been talking about now for over a year, that Windows Mobile, it's now just Windows across everything. So, so I think that there's some confusion with some of the writers, but when in doubt, that's why we do sessions like this, so we can ask these questions. I think I think you make a great point, and thank you for asking your question.
Well, thank you, because I'm staking my future on doing nothing but writing Windows apps. So it's very important for me to know, do I even test the Windows phone versions or, but so now
the great thing now. Yeah, well, the great thing now is when you write an app, you write the app once, and then you just pick the templates that says this is how it works in our smaller form factor devices, larger HoloLens, and that was really our key, was a build it once, run it everywhere. That's something we released last year at Build. We've released the iOS bridge, so you can take iOS apps and you can now write them for Windows. But the key thing is 117 million people running Windows 10. We have over 11 million enterprise customers. We are almost at half the amount of Windows 10 customers as there are iPad customers, and it's a great time because you're getting into our store now. We're seeing 3 times as many downloads, over 6 billion visits to the store since we've released Windows 10 last July. I'm very excited for what we're going to be announcing at Build this year, but we are finding a lot of developers are starting to come back and look because they see that Windows 10 is going to be successful where Windows 8 isn't, and the fact that it's one Windows app, not just on phone, but on the tablet, on the desktop, on all of these devices, really opens up the opportunity for you guys to make money, which is the reason you build those apps.
And it's so much easier to do than it was under rate. So if everything goes well, I'll actually be able to afford to attend Build this year, and I'll see you there.
I would love that. That sounds great. Thanks so much for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Who's next?
Stephen, we're not seeing you, and we'd like
You're
to.
You're not seeing me? All right,
well,
let's try something.
Desktop.
The whiteboard. That's weird. All right, so let's do this. So let's do this. Let's close the whiteboard. I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to remove that one. So give me a second. Let's try removing these and see if that works a little bit better.
There we go.
I don't know. I'm going to come back. I'm going to restart it so it comes up nice and big. How's that?
Hey, great.
From beautiful Redmond, where the sun is already starting to go down out my window. As you can see, it gets dark here pretty early this time of year. So, all right, who's got the next question?
Oh, someone. Yeah, can you? Sorry. My name is Lance Peterman.
Hey, Lance.
Hey. Do you know when Microsoft is going to expand the number of hardware platforms that will support the facial recognition features for authentication within Windows 10?
There are three different. There is the Intel RealSense camera, which you can buy today and plug into any device running Windows 10. That can be Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10 hardware. We're going to see a lot more coming out. Right now, we've really seen releases outside of the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book of consumer hardware. You're going to see announced at CES and just beyond that a lot of announcements around corporate enterprise hardware. You're going to see that almost every major manufacturer, because right now there's only about 13 laptops out that support the facial recognition with the camera. For those of you not familiar, we're talking about Windows Hello. That's the facial recognition feature. We also have a version of it that does iris recognition in our phone, but it does require special hardware. We're going to see a bunch of new devices coming out in the spring that are going to be supporting the facial recognition functionality on different laptops from all the OEMs. But again, we've really only released consumer hardware outside of the Surface devices. So watch CES. We'll have some great announcements there. And if it's something you want to test, hang on, let me find mine. I have a camera here somewhere. Here it is. This is the Intel RealSense camera. It's available from Creative Labs. You can pick that up for about $100 if you want to start to test it. Another really cool device is a company called BioKey. Has a fingerprint reader that just slides into your USB port, really small, like the size of about a quarter, plugs in, and then you can use that to do fingerprint recognition with Windows Hello to log you into your system. And again, that's going to work with any Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10 hardware. So there's some ways today to start to test it and play with it, but I'm really excited about the announcements starting at CES and coming up after that. You're going to see a lot of great hardware that's going to support that facial recognition Windows Hello functionality. By the way, that Intel RealSense camera runs about $99 if you would want to pick one up and start playing with it. And it doubles as a really great high-definition webcam as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Don't be shy.
All right. Who's up?
All right. One moment.
Hi, I'm Mike Shanahan. I have a
Mike,
question.
how are you?
Good.
Hang on. Are you good, Mike? Is life good?
So far, doing well.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. All right. Now I can ask your question.
Why didn't you offer a user interface when you converted to Windows 8 that looked like Windows 7? As you know, everybody came out and we had plugins to do it. And you offer VM, which really could emulate it if I had to for a customer. Was there a reason why you didn't offer a choice of switching between the two templates that would have really eased the pain on a lot of customers?
Sure. I don't disagree, and I think the moves that we've made in Windows 10 show that our management at the time was very focused on consumer. I think that we had a lot of people who kind of thought we should be like the next Apple and made some directions, and I think there were some things that were overlooked, like the fact there just was not any touch hardware out there to build for a touch operating system. What I can say is that those people that were involved are not part of the Windows team anymore. They're gone from the company. We've spent 2.5, almost 3 years sitting down with some of our largest customers, sitting down with consumers saying, what would it take to make Windows 10 great? And it was not just bringing back the start menu. It was evolving it to allow us to do live tiles and things like that. It was removing tons of code where we could have a version of Windows that could run on a single gig of RAM and a 16 gig hard drive. It was really going back and re-looking at security. So I think we made some mistakes. I think we really didn't take into account. I think we tried to be more revolutionary than evolutionary. I think we've done a good job as a company in really opening up lines of dialogue, giving people betas so early, still having the Windows Insider program so anybody today can download the where we're at with design and bits and be able to give feedback. And we are a much more open company. I think we've learned a lot from it. I think we've come up with some great devices, and I think we've learned our lesson by trying to be something that we are not. And I think between that and Office and what we're doing with the cloud and et cetera, I think you will see that we're a much more responsive company, and we're a company who is really listening to their customers on what they want and what's important, both from a consumer level and an enterprise level. I think what's important is that we saw what we did wrong. We learned our lesson. We corrected that instead of forcing that direction on people and going the way that we want. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you for Windows 10, and my customers would like to thank you for the interface on Windows 10. It's a little
Well, that's
different,
great.
but they can live with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think things like, the fact that you can type in a word and find every document that has that, that they're more secure, that if they're running UEFI from the moment they hit power till the moment they power down, that they're secure. And so many great new features like hello, facial recognition, et cetera, that we've brought, that we've done a good balance. And I think that being the key word of evolution and revolution. And I think that is important. And tell your customers, we're always willing to talk to them. There are tons of great tools in Windows 10 to provide feedback. We have our forums. We have events like this. We have our account executives. So many great ways for them to get in touch with us and give us their feedback. But it is folks using those tools, the telemetry tools and everything else, because when a lot of people say this is really important, that's what really helps to drive change and helps to keep the product evolving. We had some great feedback on the GUI, and during our November update, we adjusted some of those GUI settings and how they looked so that it was easier to read and easier to see, because we got some feedback that when you right-click, it's hard to see this, and the colors here don't really match. So their feedback is incredibly important. Thank you for being patient with us. Thank you for showing up to events like the ones that we did in the spring and today, and continuing to give your feedback, because it's very important as we continue to be partners as we evolve the product. So thank you.
Okay, and thank you.
Hello, Stephen. My name's Paul Regis.
Hey, Paul.
My question is, how do we move towards syncing our desktops and our smartphones together so we can see the email, calendar, contacts? I mean, it looks to me right now that you would have to purchase a Windows 10 computer and a Windows Nokia Windows phone in order to get the Office to sync together.
Not at all. You can use OneDrive. OneDrive is our best tool for document syncing. For your photos, you can have photos on your Android, iOS, or Windows phone automatically sync to OneDrive. With Office, if you're using Office 365, Office in the cloud, or even Outlook and using the Outlook calendar and the Outlook email, everything's going to be synced across those devices. We removed a desktop sync tool ages ago. That's something we haven't had since, pre-Windows 8 timeframe because of the cloud. The thought of plugging in a phone to manually sync it is just something that people don't really do anymore with the newer phones. It should all happen through the cloud. The great thing with that is I love if I pick up a new phone, as soon as I connect it, if I'm a corporate customer to Exchange, if I'm a consumer, as soon as I connect it to Outlook, my email, all my bookmarks, my documents, all my pictures through OneDrive, everything's going to sync and be the same across those devices. The key there is getting our customers to start to leverage the cloud, whether they're using ours or another, and I can give you tons of reasons why ours is better, but it is about moving all of that to the cloud. What's interesting is when you take a look at a millennial or people today, they don't see the difference between a phone and a laptop and a tablet. They see it as a device that gets them to the cloud to access their documents, their pictures, and everything that's important to them. So leveraging the cloud and going in that direction, getting a consumer Office 365 subscription, or leveraging the Outlook.com with the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of that is going to help you. You also have in Windows 10 a free version of Word, PowerPoint, and Excel that you can download. And again, by syncing all that to the cloud, your documents, your contacts, your email, everything should be in sync across all of your devices. Does that help, or am I missing part of your ask?
Yes, it does. Yeah, that does answer my question. So you could use either OneDrive or use Outlook.com to sync your contacts, your calendar.
Outlook.com will do your contacts, calendar, and email, and then OneDrive will sync all your documents and all your pictures. So that way, no matter what device you go to, whether it's a tablet or a phone, everything that's important to you is going to be on both of those.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Excellent. Next question. Thank you.
Got our VP Nate has a question here.
All right.
Hey, Stephen, this is Nate Delanoy. Good to see you again, remotely, but good to see you. Question I have with kind of the evolution of Internet of Things and Microsoft getting more involved with hardware. Do you see Microsoft partnering more so for hardware of Internet of Things, or potentially coming out with its own solutions to power Internet of Things? And would Windows 10 be the driver behind some of the innovations with Microsoft?
I think we're seeing some really amazing stuff in the IoT space, and even in the small device space. I'm going to show this to you. This is pretty cool. I just got this today. This is a full PC. It is the size of a cell phone. On the side, you can't really see too well because it's kind of dark, but I've got a power button. I've got a fingerprint reader. I've got HDMI and 2 USB ports on it. I have a ring here to support it. This is running Atom, 2 gig of RAM, 16 gig hard drive, expandable up to 128. The compute stick. We're seeing so many great small devices, but great innovation. This is from a company called Kangaroo, and it runs $99. The Intel compute stick, which is a small stick that goes into an HDMI port that then you power. That's a full TV. That's a full PC that turns any TV into a smart device. Between that and IoT, we're seeing so many great innovations. It's not to say, and I can't really speak if that's a direction where we're going to start making hardware, but we're seeing so many amazing things come out of that. So many great from Raspberry Pi devices on up. I think what's important is that we've built a great version of Windows that really allows them to do it. We're seeing some awesome innovation from various hardware folks that are putting out devices for between $50 to $100 to do this. And our cloud platform, which really powers and connects all this, has gotten so much stronger. Between machine learning, I'm going to be at NRF, the National Retail Foundation show, in a few weeks. We're showing a smart vending machine where the glass has been replaced with a touch screen, and when you touch it, you can flip things around. But what's great is leveraging machine learning. We can start to tell if it's a boy or a girl, if they're under the age of 12, and then do something like we can throw Sour Patch Kids at the screen, and it makes the screen shatter because we know those are kids. That's a combination of IoT, machine learning, cloud. It's more how we bring these things together and that we create great platforms for these smaller, great companies to come in and say, we're going to take IoT, we're going to do this, and we're going to stick it into XYZ. And that's not an area where we should be building things. That's an area where we should be helping people to support and innovate, bringing in things like HoloLens and other devices to do that. So I can't speak to are we going to develop our own IoT devices. What I can say is between everything from joysticks to Windows 10 to all of these various peripherals and operating system, we've made it cheap and easy for people to do great innovative things, which are going to allow you as IT pros to go, you know what, I had an idea. What if we add an IoT piece to XYZ? How would that start to change how the device interacts with people and does that? So I think bringing a more ubiquitous standard, bringing cheaper ways to allow you to think out of the box and be innovative, I think is the key thing that we can really do to help people now. And I think that's going to be the first part of it. And like I said, it's not to say that we may not build something in the future, but right now it's really about keeping it cheap, keeping it simple, getting it out to everywhere, and making sure that the apps that you build that run on IoT also run on all these other devices. Because how cool that you can build an app that works in Xbox that then also controls an IoT device. And it's starting to bring these things together. As you take a look at home automation, being able to manage that from your phone, from your tablet, from your Xbox, moving all the way across, having that single OS allows us to extend the reach of the end user to those IoT devices, doing some very exciting things. So if you do something cool with IoT, let us know. I would love to put you in touch with the right people and hear more about what you have for ideas and try to get you in touch with the right people to get you some cool hardware to do it.
Very
so
cool.
let me know how I can help.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Some hands. Which way should I go? Almost there.
All right, who's up next?
Hello, my name is Alan Kaplan.
Hey, Alan.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good. We see
enjoying my time with you guys.
We see the blue sky behind you. Looks a little overcast.
Yeah, it's not quite as blue as it looks. I've actually turned. You see, it's a lot more reflection. It's getting pretty dark, but it's okay. Can't complain.
I'd like for you to address what many pundits are describing as Windows 10 being shoved down the throats of the consumers. And what I'm talking about is the apparent increasing difficulty to say no to Windows 10. And I've heard that there's a roadmap that's going to move this OS upgrade to the updates, so it'll become a recommended update. And most people take that as a matter of course. And I'm an adopter, and I'm an IT person, but I know that there are a lot of people for whom they are still using Windows 7 quite happily. They may have applications that don't run with later versions of the operating system. And so how do we explain to those people what you're doing?
Sure. I think that that's a great question. So number one, those can be turned off. You can go in and you can turn that off so you don't get that. With that said, Windows 7 is no longer in mainstream support. It's now in extended support, which is something available to our corporate customers. It is 6+ years old. It is not giving our customers the most secure, best experience that they can get. If they do not, there are no 6-year-old iPhones, there are no 6-year-old iPads, there are no 6-year-old Android devices because Android stopped supporting their 3-year-old version of their operating system. Apple did as well. So we allow our customers to have an operating system for 5 years of mainstream and 5 years of extended support. And we're the only company on the planet that allows people to do that. Now, we want people to upgrade to Windows 10 because it's going to, we've made it free, but it will give them the most secure experience out there. The fact that some of these people are not running IE 11 because they didn't update Windows 7 to do that, they're using a browser that has vulnerabilities. Windows 7 is still a great operating system, but new types of malware, new types of spyware, new types of rootkits. We even removed BIOS. BIOS is no longer something we use. We use UEFI. That's part of both Windows 8 and Windows 10 to ensure that the moment a customer powers up a device till the moment they power it down, they are covered. It allows that if there's a piece of rootkit that it pops up and says, you've got malware, click this button to reboot your machine and we will remove it. As people get more and more concerned about privacy, about having something that downloads that starts to give away personal information, they're using an operating system that was built before some of these modern security threats were available, came out, and started to affect them. So we want people to be able to run the most secure version of Windows ever built. We want to keep them safe. We want to make sure that what they are doing safely, and they're not giving away any information, that they're not losing pictures, losing data, losing information, where they're not making specific choices to give up those rights. Now, with that said, we don't want to force Windows 10 down anybody's throat, but it is only free until next July, and we want to make sure that those people who can move to it and want to move to it do in a timely fashion. It will tell them if there is software that's not going to work, they'll be warned, and then they can get out of that. But you're not just going to show up one morning and Windows 10 isn't going to be on your machine if you have said no. That's something that we don't have the right to do and we won't do at any time. You were going to say something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, a follow-on question was about this issue of privacy. Do you think that Microsoft has done a good job of describing the telemetry and other what people are describing as phone home features of Windows 10?
There's a great blog post from Terry Myerson that I would encourage all of our customers to read that talks about that. We're also going to be having a white paper that will be coming out in the next few weeks that talks about exactly what is being sent home. And what's important to understand is at no time are we sending anybody's personal information. What we're doing is, what are you using? Did the machine crash? And if something crashed and it wasn't because of Windows, we're going to share that telemetry with HP if it was a printer or whatever. What are you using? Why aren't you using these features? And if you're not using features, what do we need to do to make them better? It is sort of, what are you clicking on and what's working and what isn't working? That's what's being shared back with us so we can continue to make Windows better. What we don't want is not having that information. Then we're in a bubble on what we think consumers want, and we did that with Windows 8, and we didn't do a very good job. I agree. I think we need to do more blog posts like the one that Terry did about a month or so ago that talked about what we share and what we don't. I think we're going to need to do more disclosure on that. But what is important is we're not using or grabbing any customer data. We're not like Google, who scans email for specific terms and words and then sells that to create profiles. The information we're getting is what you're using and not using inside of Windows, what's working and what isn't, so we can continue to make the product better. So I'll point you to Terry Myerson's blog post that's up on blogs.windows.com, and we've pointed out to him that we would like to do more of these because I agree. I think we need to be more verbose and more specific, but I think it's also important that you keep us honest and that you call us on this and say, hey, we need more, we want more, what are you doing, Microsoft, to do that? Because I think that's incredibly important as well.
Thank you for your answers.
No, thank you.
My name is Donald Jerems. I have
Hey, Donald.
I have an offbeat question. I hope you can address it.
Okay.
When I watch an NFL football game, am I too close? Oh, no
Yeah.
I see the assistant coaches on the sidelines with Surface tablets,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking at it. The players are looking at it, and I kind of wonder what's going on in the background.
Okay.
Of course, there's marketing on the NFL football games and NCIS and Hawaii 5-0 and a lot of stations, but let's stay with NFL. Is Microsoft, do they have a big trailer in the back that's kind of giving them cloud support on this?
No. I'll actually share exactly what's on those. I'm glad you asked.
We won't talk about royalties or anything like that.
No. So what happened was originally those devices were, they looked at a bunch of different devices for the combines where they take a look at the players and who's going to be the top players. They looked at a lot of different devices and they found that the Surface device was going to be one of the best ones out there because of weatherability, the ability to write, the ability to seal them, to be able to run desktop apps, etc. So they originally started the combine and it went very well. So what they have there, and it's really cool, it's an app where the coaches that are upstairs, the offensive, defensive, the ones who sit up in the box that can see all the plays, they can, where they were sending down paper, and they would get paper with a play, and then the coach would pull it, and he would circle and write X's and O's, and how are people lining up? They can now send that directly to the device, so the coach can actually see. He can say, hey, check out the, number 12, he's running a wide route. They can send that. They can then sit down with the quarterback and show that video live and right on that screen and be able to interact with that. So rather than the paper, these colored printouts that would come out, which, let's face it, in the snow and the rain don't work very well, the idea of using this tablet, those are ruggedized, they are sealed, they're built specifically for the NFL, they are kept in a secure case. When they come out, each team has their own supply. Those are directly connected in to all of the different folks that work for that team that are doing that. So we're just providing hardware. There's no sort of intermediate piece. Many of them do use our cloud products, et cetera, but it's a direct connection between the coaches, the assistant coaches, the folks that are way up in the booth up top, and management, all working together to eliminate paper, to be more agile, and to allow them to be able to write, draw, and have this great experience. And we're super excited that so many of the teams are loving it, that are using it. We've had some great TV spots around it. Our team is getting excited. They're going to be out at the Super Bowl this year. Some folks from my team working with so many other folks at that. So it's been a really, really great experience. Does that answer your question?
And it's not hackable, right?
Oh, no. It's a closed loop. It's only available to those guys. It's on a super private network, all of that sort of stuff that they do. And the NFL has very, very specific terms on how that's designed and done. And that's something that they do directly with them. We're not involved in that aspect at all. If it was, the Seahawks, I think, would be doing better since there's so many people at Microsoft that are big Seahawks fans. So I think that would be a part of it. And being a Bears fan, I would try to get the Bears to play a little bit better too, but we haven't had much luck in that area. So thanks for your question. That's a great question. I've never been asked that one before. I love a new one.
Good evening, Stephen. It's Ed Whitcomb. I had just a quick question. I hadn't looked yet, but are the RSAT tools available yet for 10?
They are. The RSAT tools are available, MDT, all of those. You can go out to windows.com/IT Pro, and you should be able to find all of the Windows 10 tools are up to date and ready to go.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And another question over here.
Yep.
Robert Hood again. Regarding that with the NFL, more interesting to me, just because it's my sport and we're in Charlotte, is I've been reading how the NASCAR teams are using the surface at the races, and the engineers who never leave Charlotte, they're able to look at the data and give them ideas on how to improve the car from here to California or here to Florida, wherever. So that, again, I mean, that's one that they should promote again. And the other thing that
we actually have a great video. If you go up to our blog, we have an amazing video with Hendricks Motorsports that we did with them, with Dale Jr. and with the RAB teams. That's something we've been doing with them since Windows 8. So there's some really great videos on how that is, and what they love is not only can they see instant telemetry and know how they need to change a wheel, but when the driver pulls into a pit, they can hand the surface to the driver, and he can actually circle various parts of the car and say, this is a little off, because it's very hard for them to hear, much easier for them to draw, hand that tablet back, and for them to be able to do that. So check out those videos. They're great videos, and I will pass that on to Jason Campbell, who's been working with them, that you appreciate that and enjoy that and are looking for more.
I've seen that where they actually give it into the driver for input. That's neat. But the other thing I just read this week that you got now with the Surface, that's a major step, is the National Guard or the Air Force that's now equipping the F-18 pilots with a Surface tablet. That's pretty cool.
We have the Navy is working on some projects too, so we're moving across. NASA is leveraging our HoloLens project. That's something that we're also looking at with the military, as are several hospitals using it. So we're really excited about that. And you'll find on regular commercial flights, SkyWest and Delta are using the Surface in the cockpit as the electronic flight bag, which is removing close to 50 pounds to paperwork and saving them millions of dollars in fuel every single year. In doing that, plus it's giving them instantaneous updates. So you're going to find a lot more, and we're going to have some really good stories that we're going to be telling a little bit later on this year involving the military. So that's great to hear that there's some interest there.
To this other gentleman's question earlier about the security, when people ask me about the security and about what Microsoft's taken, all I give them is two things: the American Medical Association and the American Bar Association, who by law have to protect their data. And neither one has said, do not upgrade to Windows 10. And
that's right.
Yet they face amazing fines if their data escapes confines. So that to me says it's safe.
Yeah. Windows 10 is also certified for the U.S. government and military as well. So we have all of those folks that are moving to it, something that iPad and Android devices aren't. So absolutely a great thing to share, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Stephen, we're glad to have you with us tonight. I am Galen Boland. I am the media director of the IT Pro Group. I have a video camera pointed right at the screen. We're watching you, so say hi to everybody. You are aware that you're talking to Charlotte, North Carolina, and NFL
I am.
is getting very big.
The only undefeated team in the NFL today. Believe me, I'm well
absolutely.
Aware. Cam Newton. I can hear everybody in the background. Yes.
Yeah. We're sorry your Seahawks are not doing that well. Oh well.
It's okay. I'm a Bears fan. We're actually doing even worse. I grew up in Chicago, so yeah. Okay. No, you guys are having a great year. Congratulations.
Okay. Technical question. Believe it or not, I must know the wrong people because I know a lot of folks that are still running Vista. Why did Microsoft decide not to include Vista for the upgrade?
Age of those devices becomes a big piece of it. If somebody's still running Vista, that's an incredibly old device that's not even supported by the hardware manufacturer anymore. So hang on 1 second, guys. Sorry. I had some guys who were very excited about their conversation. It was hard to hear for a minute. Those devices now are way past their life cycle. So the thought of supporting something which even the hardware manufacturers don't support anymore really doesn't make sense. Windows 7 devices, chances are those are still supported by the manufacturer. So it really became a time that why are we supporting something with Windows where the hardware that they're using it on is not going to be safe? And again, probably is not going to meet some of the minimum requirements, and many of those drivers aren't available anymore. Trying to continue to write drivers for things like Vista and XP just gets very exhausting, and it creates more potential issues when people upgrade. We knew we could give a great experience to our Windows 7 hardware users and Windows 8 hardware users, and that moves us back a little bit greater than 5 years, and that's really what the window is for support. We're not, Vista is completely out of support. We don't want to upgrade from an operating system that frankly, users shouldn't be using and should have moved to Windows 7 a few years ago, if not already.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm going to probably pull that clip out and show that to the people. These are the people that think a PC should last 8 to 10 years. I totally agree with you. I just wanted to ask that question.
Ask. You know what's a good question with that one is say, how old is your cell phone? I don't think many people are still running 8 to 10-year-old cell phones. Ask them how old their car is. Most people usually at 7, 8 years they look to, unless it's a pickup truck, are going to start to get rid of it. So ask them how many things in their life they have that are still 10 years old that they still rely upon and they still feel give them the same level of service from the day that they bought it. I guarantee you they're probably not running a 7-year-old cell phone. The only person who's doing that is my father, who had one of those Motorola flip phones up until about a year ago. He's hard to change, but even he had to go to a smartphone and move on. So if you start to point some of those things out, that really starts to bring it into if it's not okay in X, Y, Z, why is it okay here? And that's also a great conversation to have with folks too. And boot time. I can't even imagine how long a Vista machine, compared to what I'm used to now with Windows 10 and it booting in a matter of seconds, how long that would take to boot in and log into these days. I may have to play with one and try it. All right, who's up? Who's next?
Yeah, my name's Dan Pelchat. I just had a question about the Edge browser.
Yeah.
Is there any thought about adding in support for Java into the Edge browser?
Not Java. We're going to do other things, but not Java. Java is one of those things that the whole web is starting to get rid of because of the insecurities, because there are ways to hack it, because it's dangerous. You're finding Java disappearing. Some of the other browsers have already stopped support for it. We're going to continue to support it in IE 11 for now, just because that is a browser for business and many companies have standardized in it. But the newer browsers that are moving forward aren't going to do it because it's slow, it's out of date, and it's just not secure. And that's something that we're going to move forward with as well. And we're not the only ones who think this.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is awesome. You guys are great and making great use of my time, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone. Go ahead.
Hi, Stephen. This is David Southern.
Hey, David.
Hey, I have a question about Windows updates.
About Windows updates, okay.
Yes, we've always had trouble with them, back from the XP days when you get a bad update or something, but it seems to be more prevalent since 7. Updates just completely stops working. You got to go through and run all your Register 32 commands and stuff to try to reset it. Or that kind of thing. But what
are you using WSUS? Are you bringing them into WSUS and then pushing them out? Or are you talking going directly from Windows Update?
Mostly consumers just from Windows Update. And we've noticed that with Windows 10, whereas even like with 7, you would be able to at least get to the UI to do something with it or help your customer over the phone. Windows 10, I've had at least 3 different experiences on modern equipment that just basically goes to what they refer to as the big black paperweight. It comes in, they can log in from the login screen, and then it just goes to a black screen. I have found if I force it through safe mode, we can do a restart, and it's basically just a failed install.
Interesting.
But the updates with consumers who don't know who to contact or don't know how to put their machine in safe mode.
Right.
Maybe something, since they can actually still get to the login screen, Microsoft could address, Windows Update failed, click here to restart, or something like that, because if you could force a restart, it seems to get it past it. But that's been an issue since.
And that should happen. The fact that it's not is telling me that there could be a lot of different things. I would say, first of all, if that does happen to somebody, have them, get to a local Microsoft store or to a Best Buy if they can. They'll take a look at it. The Microsoft stores will do that for free. That tells me when that happens that it's more than just a bad install, that there could be something else that's hanging up that boot up process. If you have any logs on it, I'll give you my email address. I would love to have you send those to me, and I can send them on to the engineering team, and they can take a look at it.
That sounds great. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll put my email in the window. So if you want to send me some logs and let me know who you are and kind of give me an email that's ready to forward, I'm happy to forward it on to Gabe Ball and the engineering team. I know they would love to be able to take a look at that and see if it is an operating system issue, a hardware install. It could be so many different things, but it would be great for them to be able to take a look at that and know if it is something where they can look for some sort of common thread across that. So, yeah, let me know what I can do to help and send it off to me. I'll take a look at it.
I've noticed that happen on my laptops too, and what I've learned is to just leave it alone and let it do its things. A lot of times when I boot, I get 100% disk usage for a little while, and that slows it down, and I'm so used to things happening so fast that if I just walk away from the laptop instead of looking at it for 5 minutes, it all works itself out. But what I do wonder is it would be nice to see something, like a little animated character or something saying Windows is updating because
optimizing itself or something like that. Sure.
A lot of times we log on to our devices and we're in a hurry to get something done, and with all the updates that have been going on, sometimes you don't want it to automatically go. You want to just get on, do what you got to do, and then if it needs to update, then fine after what I've done. So I'm sure you're probably hearing it from a lot of people. Do they have any plans to give us any control?
I haven't heard it as much from some of the larger enterprise customers because they do lock down their image. They do optimize their image. I've heard it from some consumers. I think this is something, again, where the telemetry that we're getting back is going to help us because when those lockups happen, blue screens, that telemetry saying, hi, you had 100% PEG usage, and here are some of the basic stats on this device, are going to help us to do that. It's one of the reasons why we want to keep telemetry on. But what I would encourage you to do is to grab a screenshot or to go into our forums, because that's where our engineers work, and post it in the forums. That way it gets to the engineers. The engineers can try to walk you through what those issues are and help you to try to solve it, and that information also goes to the engineering team. If you find you're unsuccessful there, send it off to me, and I'll send it directly to engineering. But I'll send you through the forums, because that's the best way, because our engineers comb through those, looking for those types of issues to solve it, and also look for trends there as well.
But as far as having control over when you do your own updates, rather than having it sort of
you can tell it to do it at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it will only do those updates at 3 a.m. You can go ahead and you can set those. So you can do that through the tool. You don't, unless you have deferred it for a period of time where security update is set. I have to be installed within 48 hours to keep you safe, and you haven't done it.
Yeah, I realize that's the other side of the coin is you probably want people to hurry up and update as soon as possible. You guys are keeping really good track of that. Any other questions?
Hey, Stephen, this is Nate Delnoy. I just had another question for you, if I could switch gears to Surface Hub, if you don't mind. Is that something you want to
I can't answer too much about Surface Hub, but I can certainly try.
Well, I guess my curiosity is it seems in most of the demonstrations, YouTube videos, whatever that I see out there about it, it's being used in a boardroom setting.
Mm-hmm.
I have also seen it alternatively where it's used as like in a kiosk, digital kiosk, or digital signage. Does Microsoft foresee that ever working its way into the home, or is that more so, you think, business-oriented?
I think we see things like HoloLens working its way into the home, Xbox doing a lot of that. I think because of, the purpose of Surface Hub with all those cameras and all those microphones is really for work collaboration. We also see it being great in the education space. We have a ton of schools that are super interested in it. But the fact that you can have a video conference, everybody can see each other, that you guys can all draw on this simultaneously, All your notes are automatically uploaded to OneNote. It's absolutely being built for business. The idea that you can take Power BI and take two different graphs and smash those together. And what that does then for the classroom as well is tremendous. I think for the home, I think that there's different directions we're going. I think there's great things we're doing, like I said, with some of these IoT smart devices that we're doing with Xbox, and even what we're going to continue to see in HoloLens, that those are more in that direction. And it's not to say that we can't go there. Right now, though, I think that that's what we're really focusing in on is the corporate office and education. Being the two. And then I think as we continue to refine that device, make it smaller, make it thinner, and we've made it dramatically cheaper than our Perceptive Pixel devices, I think it will get to a point where if it hits that right price point, that we could see something like that in the home where we could start to put all of our pictures on it and see our schedules and calendars and literally knock out a large piece of the wall and turn it into a cool interactive thing in our house. So I think it has a great potential to get there, but I think right now we're going to learn a lot from EDU and from corporate, and that's going to be our big focus right now. But I see where you're going, and I love the idea. I'd like one in my home.
Hey, Stephen, I have a question for you. I work, as you know, for a big enterprise bank, and I know the 950 and 950 XL phones were kind of targeted at that enterprise productivity because of the way you built them with the continuum and so forth for the Road Warrior.
Right.
I haven't seen a lot of, I would say, active or aggressive marketing within the enterprise, and I'm in a position where I would see that. I wonder if you guys have on your roadmap to try to ramp that up toward the enterprise customers in the next few months.
You're going to start to see a lot more. They've just come out, and our big thing at Christmas, along with Surface Pro 4 and Surface Book and the phone, we want to make sure that consumers want those over the holidays can get them, which is one of the reasons not because we don't want all the corporate customers buying them up. I'm on a Surface Book right now, and I love it. I went out and bought my own. I couldn't wait to get mine. So I think we want to make sure that consumers that are super excited about it get it first. I think you'll see a lot more. Again, post-CES, when we really start to gear up with more of our corporate devices, I think you're going to start to see a lot more there. So, and I've seen the plans, and that's when you'll start to see it. So let's make sure everybody who wants one under their tree gets it, along with Surface Pro 4s and Surface Books, and then, we're absolutely going to target more when we have that supply. Because what we don't want is a lot of people wanting it and not being able to give it to them. That's almost worse than not offering it to begin with.
Well, that's great news, Stevens. You know, I'm a Surface MVP. I'd like to see this thing take off.
Absolutely.
I do have a Surface 4. I can tell you, I told Panos I have one word for it, and that's magnificent. It is absolutely incredible. You took a product
device
that was already great in the Surface Pro 3, which I had one. You made it lighter, you made it thinner, and you made it a tremendously more powerful. I don't know how in the world you guys did that, but I've never seen anything like the Surface Pro 4.
Well, thank you. Well, we appreciate it. A lot of that really goes to that new chipset, the new Intel chipsets that are allowing us to be lighter and thinner, that it uses less heat. Battery life is just tremendous. I got to tell you, my Surface Book, I'm getting 11 hours of battery life all day. I flew from New York to Atlanta to New Orleans and still had about 30-40% power back. I spent a whole day in a class taking notes and still it's just amazing. And it's that one thing I've been looking for, great high-def camera. I'm so proud of the new hardware that we've done. If you haven't had a chance, folks, to see the new Surface Pro 4, the touch-friendly, the keyboard that is the fingerprint reader, or the Surface Book, absolutely get a chance to see these devices. They are absolutely beautiful, and I'm super proud. And thank you. Those are phenomenally kind words that I will pass on to the Surface team. I know they'll be appreciative, so thank you. I think we got time for about one or two more questions. I got to sign off at 5, my time, which is 8 your time.
I have a security question for you. With Windows 10, you get Windows Defender as an option. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you recommend running something alongside of that, like Malwarebytes or?
It'll slow it down, and I'll tell you something really great. We had that issue a few weeks ago with Dell with those bad certificates they had put in those machines. I think you all read that Dell had put in the same certificate on a ton of different devices. Our malware product was our Defender was the only product that found that certificate and called it out and said, "Hi, this is bad," which was so proud to see that none of the other ones did. putting in a second product, you're more than welcome to do it, but it is going to start to take up more processes, more cycle, and it's going to be duplicative to what's already going on inside of there. So it's not that you can't, but you may find that your machine starts to run a bit slower if you do try to do that. So do you use it, test it, and if you find that it's slowing down the machine and not giving you much value for it, pull it out. If it's giving you better peace of mind and you want 2 locks on your door and it's not affecting performance, then that's great. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But,
or make it a non-resident program.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can
You can never be too safe.
I can back that up, Stephen. I've been running nothing but Defender on 7 machines for the last 2 years. I've had I have no malware, no viruses. Everything's been clean. I do make sure that I run an update every day to get the definitions and make sure I stay on top of it.
Absolutely.
And that's
I
absolutely
think that's
critical.
important.
If you do that, I've had a perfect score for 2 years.
No, your machine doesn't know what the bad guy's looking like unless you give him a picture. And that's what we're doing. We're updating that, and we work very closely with CERN and all the other folks who are at the center of that, who provide that in. So I think we've done some great work there. So, again, very, very proud of the work that we've done.
Okay, we got the last question right here.
Yeah, I was going to say I got time for one more.
Stephen, with regards to the Christmas tree, that's not too far down the road. The 950 to 950 XL, one is available through AT&T. The other in this whole area of North and South Carolina is available in exactly one store, the Microsoft store a couple miles. When is
you can also buy it online. You can order it online and have it sent to your house.
A lot of people like myself want, any other phone, I can go to any one of numerous phone stores and play with it. But I think it's the XL.
AT&T will have it. Yeah, the AT&T will have it in their stores, and if you, I think starting in January, they're going to have it in the store. It is online now because it's unlocked and can work with any carrier. So it will be hitting. There was limited amounts available, so we want to make sure the people that already had played with it, knew they wanted it, got it. I agree. It's been hard to see. It is just a slightly bigger version of that 950. It's beautiful. I love it. Look in January for it.
They're both amazing, and I'm surprised that Microsoft isn't aiming more to grab that Christmas share. I mean, who doesn't like video of the kids under the tree?
Oh, yeah. No, I know. It's demand. It's just trying to get it out, and the carriers, and we have so much stuff coming out. So, and we can't tell AT&T what to do. So AT&T also has to decide, and we have some agreements. But it will be coming soon. We want to make sure. I know we've sold out because we're offering it with the dock, which is something that the phone carriers didn't want to do. That's $100 value. So that was a key piece too. So there's more pop-up stores coming. We've had more pop-up stores across the country. We're gearing up. We're getting better at this. So give us a little bit of time.
Okay, because I'm waiting for a little competition, because only with the competition will we also see the price go down. It's happened on every other phone you've come out with. 4 months and the price drops by at least
after 90 days, it tends to go down. Yeah. So it's always a good thing. If you're willing to wait until February, you'll probably get a really great deal on it.
Okay, great.
It's well worth it.
Thank you, man. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure to hear you again.
My pleasure. Absolutely great to see virtually all of you, and for all of you to virtually see my big old head. But always a pleasure. And like I said, you guys have been so great to us. When I've come out to Charlotte now 2 or 3 times, you guys have shown up in droves. So, when you guys reached out, I'm happy to do it because you guys have been such great supporters. And thank you so much. Keep hammering us, keep us honest, and we will keep working hard for you and keep doing the stuff that we're doing. So thanks so much for being such great supporters of our products and services.
Yeah. And Stephen, on behalf of the 3,900 members of CITPG, we thank you very, very much for taking the time.
Have a great holiday, everybody, and we'll see you in the new year. Take care.
Same to you.